Good evening, everybody. Today, the show is going to be a little bit different because we're going to speak in English, and you're going to be able to read in Bosnian because subtitles should be the Bosnian. But anyway, I have two good people today for the interview. Professor Rita M.Csapo from one of the St. Louis universities and her student from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and this is what we're going to talk about. They're going to introduce themselves, but we're going to talk about something a little bit different than usually what we talk with our guests. Now, today we talk about the foreign exchange students because AMSL is the college where Professor Sweet works, and we'll talk about education, exchange of the students, and those questions what are kind of really hot to know nowadays, because what I found out is that Amsterdam University, where Professor works, sends every year one of the students from St. Louis to the Sarajevo or Tuzla, because they have a contract with them, and Tuzla or Sarajevo send one students here in St. Louis, and this is really something exciting what I want to talk about it. So good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
How you doing, man?
I'm fine, thank you.
Can you please introduce yourself and tell us, what you're doing at AMSL and what is it, what's interesting about all this project?
Well, I'm Associate Professor of Media Studies at the University of Missouri St. Louis, and for the last 6-7 years, I've been working to create a exchange program with the University of Sarajevo, University of Tuzla, and also University of Dubrovnik. Okay. And my reason for doing that is twofold. First, my background is Hungarian, and when I was of college age, I took a year and I spent a year in Budapest studying. And it had an absolutely transformative effect on my life. Even today, I'm dealing with Eastern European culture and media and art because of that 1 year I spent discovering my family, discovering my language. And so that's always been something that I place a very high value on. St. Louis has about 70,000 Bosnians who came out in the early 90s, and some are still coming, and those that have been here for a while have created very solid middle-class existences, businesses, and so on. But for those who came as children and grew up in this country, they are probably disconnected in much the same way that I was disconnected as a child. And I did not come as an issue of trauma. My parents came to the United States just before I was born, and my father was a professor. So we were not, we were not thrown out or had to leave for those kinds of circumstances. So I began the project originally in 1996 to set up a contract between our university and the three universities that I mentioned. In 2010, we had the first students who went there. One is from the Bosnian community here, Ivan Aleksic, and then the other was my student from AMSL film student, Joshua Lassing. And he studied at the same academy where Hari is. And it was for them a completely transformative experience. Joshua he's from a little town in Missouri. He'd never been on an airplane. He ends up in Sarajevo. And now that he's back, he's flying all over the country doing commercials for absolutely the top-rated companies. So in a lot of ways, it has that effect, but it's been slow going in getting students to come here because it's so expensive. It's so expensive for a Bosnian student to come here and spend a whole semester. So, well, I think Hari can talk about that.
Moj drugi gost je Hari Secic. My second guest, I apologize. Switching languages is not easy always. So my second guest is Hari Secic. Hari just came from Sarajevo, and Hari is, if I'm not mistaken, the fourth year.
Yeah, I'm
at a
Sarajevo Academy of Performing Arts. Yeah,
and what is it? What you study?
I'm studying film and theater directing.
Okay, so this is basically last semester for you?
Yeah, and this is like I applied for this exchange program last year also, but for some reasons it didn't work out back then. And this year I was invited for St. Louis International Film Festival as a guest with some student films from Balkans, and I came like a month ago, and meanwhile I was accepted to study as an exchange student at AMSL. So I'm supposed to enroll in January, and this project is really good because it offers like you get opportunity to come here for 5 or 6 months to learn language, to learn new things, and to have like experience that you can't have it back there in Bosnia. And it's a great opportunity to like see how students do things here in the United States.
How do you, for all the students, you know, and the parents watching this around the world, what is it what they require in order to apply for a scholarship like what you did? What is it what you need to do? I guess it must be some requirement regarding the language and everything else.
Yeah, you have to either do this TOEFL test or get a recommendation from your English teacher back at university in Sarajevo, and then you apply. They ask for your grades and things like that, and I think like that's so far not many people have applied, because main reason is that this project AMSL gives you scholarship that covers school fee. It's like almost $10,000, and that's how much one semester costs at AMSL. But the problem is because students from Sarajevo have to pay for airplane ticket, and also they have to stay in the United States for 5
Expenses,
months.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
And this contract doesn't cover any of those things, only scholarship. So that's like something that has to be corrected, if I can say, because I came here hoping, because I already contacted some people from Bosnian community here in St. Louis before I came, including you, and I was hoping that we will find a way to work out with Bosnian community to support this project, because I'm the first one from Sarajevo, and this contract exists for at least 3 years, right?
At least, yeah.
And the problem is that even when you go there at a university in Sarajevo to apply, they tell you that you only have covered school fee. Everything else you have to find either grant or some kind of scholarship for that. And I was lucky because festival paid for my airplane ticket, and that's how I came, because otherwise I probably wouldn't be able to come. And that's why I'm hoping that this Bosnian community and the Bosnian Chamber of Business and other organizations here will support this project, not just because of me now, but because of others in the future. And also this is a great opportunity for members of Bosnian community that study at AMSL. They have great opportunity to go back to Bosnia for 1 semester, and to learn the language. They own language, they can learn it better, they can see the culture that like where they came from, and that's like unique opportunity for them, because after they finish that semester in Sarajevo or Tuzla, they come back here and they continue. They don't like have to do this semester again, because AMSL accepts credits from Sarajevo or Tuzla.
Professor, as far as I know, when we was talking earlier, just talking before the show, you says that your student Joshua, when he went in Sarajevo, the teacher even they did you know, their classes in English language. How that works? What American kids, you know, I mean, are they have to be specific, or what the requirements for the American kids going to the Bosnia are?
Well, at this point, we have mostly interest from students who have some kind of a Bosnian background.
Okay.
But Joshua was indeed very lucky, and he was put into the class that Aida Begic was teaching. And she conducted the classes in English just so that she could accommodate him, which is extraordinary. But also, one of the most important things I think about this program is that there are few students in the program in Sarajevo, and virtually every faculty member has awards from Cannes, has awards from European Union. I mean, these are the top filmmakers in the world, and it's practically a one-to-one, if not one student per 3 faculty members.
Wow.
I mean, and if I were to send my students to New York to study with somebody like Scorsese or to LA, number one, they couldn't afford it, and number two, they would get lost, you know. I mean, they would be one of thousands, and it would be a miracle if they were really able to work with an important director, to assist on projects and so on. So for people from here going there, it can be an extraordinary experience.
Earlier you talked about students being blessed and going in a different country, especially if they are Americans,
Yeah.
Americans who knows the generation. Can you please talk about that a little bit? What is it, what makes difference for the kids, you know, to go at that point of their life, you know, like when they're in the college, you know, and see how everything is done? What that changed in their life?
I think that's a particular age when most people who start as freshmen, they don't know what they're going to be. And by the time 4 years are over and they're seniors, they have a life planned for themselves. And so I think what's really important is that this is a window where you don't have a family, you don't have responsibilities to care for children, you don't have to really earn your own money to survive because parents usually help. This is that very, very small window when someone can really experiment with different things intellectually, and then make a decision that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And the more opportunities you have, in particular, going to a country that you have a connection with, that your family grew up in, that you can then build a bridge with. And let's say you know, the agreements that we have are not, they're university-wide. So far it's been a lot of film people, that's because that's my area. But you know, they have opportunities in business, in political science, whatever. And so, you know, they can come back here and start a business that also involves Bosnians. They can do, and so they can continue this no matter what area they're in and maintain that contact. And that gives them an advantage here. Obviously, if you have, you know, an ongoing connection with Bosnia and you're from a Bosnian family, you can build a business. So it isn't just in the arts.
Okay, how do you, tell us the first impressions about the United States. Is this your first time?
Yeah.
So,
First time. I don't
Although
know.
what's good, what's bad, how you like it? Tell us everything.
I can't say yet because I mean I've been here for a month, but I haven't had a chance really to see much things so far. I don't know. First impression was that like I come from Sarajevo and it's like a small city that's compared to St. Louis, and it's surrounded by hills. And here, like everything is flat and so
No
spread
hills,
out,
huh?
yeah. And
Okay.
that's like the first impression. And so far, I met some interesting people here.
And I know that you can talk about experience going to school because school's starting
It
in
hasn't
about
started yet.
couple of weeks, you know, but it's going to be nice to talk to you in a couple months, you know, just to see when you interact with the other students. And believe me, there's lots of students from different countries around here, from all around the world. You're going to hear so many different languages at college that you wouldn't be, you'll be surprised, definitely. Because I took some classes at Amstel, and I know that there's lots of people from everywhere. And that's the beauty of America.
But a lot of Bosnians also.
Yes,
A
it
lot
is.
of
It is.
Bosnians.
It is. And I believe so. There's a really good chance for the Bosnian kids, you know, to go and see their parents, you know, country where the parents were born, and to go to school and try to learn the Bosnian language, you know, and
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
get proficient.
big
Because
deal.
I know, speaking from the point of the parents, you know, my son has a problem with a Bosnian language, and I know that lots of other kids born here from Bosnian parents, you know, but you know, the kids go to school, and the parents spend you know, a little time with them, you know, a couple hours, you know, the rest of the time they are in the school, they are in the daycares and the kindergartens and everything else. So I think there's going to be a good idea and good chance for them to go and learn the language, then everything else. So,
on top of that, as you say, it isn't just connecting with family. You professionally, you are building a relationship. I mean, and I think in terms of what comes out of a college experience, that's very, very important. And also, when you're in Bosnia, you hear from young people Harry's age, they want jobs. They need jobs.
yes.
And so the more of this kind of cooperation there is, let's just say with the Chamber of Commerce, with the business interests, a student can be part of that process of having a contact that creates a solid business, or anything else. So it isn't just reuniting with family; it's also establishing oneself professionally.
Okay. Right. Harry, tell us, what is it, you came here for the film festival, and what project you did, what is it?
It was actually 3 years ago. I organized this film festival in Sarajevo, and we had like 52 films from all countries from ex-Yugoslavia. And the professor was there at that time in Sarajevo, and she was interested to show these films at St. Louis International Film Festival, and they invited me to present 25 films from Sarajevo, Zagreb, Ljubljana, Belgrade, Skopje, and that was part of this program 20 years later, films from former Yugoslavia.
Okay, we're gonna see now the interviews what we did at a film festival, and let's see what's going on there.
Ja sam Dževada Keranović za MIM televiziju. Mi se nalazimo na AMSEL-u, odnosno Univerzitetu države Missouri u St. Louisu, kako ga mi skraćeno nazovemo AMSEL, gdje se održava 20 godina kasnije filmski festival u okviru Međunarodnog filmskog festivala u St. Louisu. I mi ćemo večeras razgovarati sa jednim od, a da ne zaboravim reći, festival je za filmove od filmadžija sa svih područja bivše Jugoslavije. Biće predstavnici iz svih republika osim Crne Gore, a razlog iz kojeg Crna Gora nije imala predstavnika na ovom festivalu je jednostavno iz toga što film nije bio titlovan na engleski jezik. A mi ćemo večeras razgovarati i sa gospodinom Arsenom Ostojićem, koji je također, vi ste vjerovatno većina vas vidjeli film Halimin put, a on večeras ima neki drugi film na festivalu, pa gospodine Ostojiću, možete li malo više reći o vama, zbog čega ste ovdje i šta očekujete od ove posjete ovom filmskom festivalu?
Puno hvala. Istina, prikazuju se dva moja filma. Sada u ovom trenutku dok mi razgovaramo vrti se film Ta divna splitska noć, a prikazuje se povodom dodjele nagrade Contemporary Film Award, Contemporary Cinema Award koju sam dobio za svoj dosadašnji rad na filmu. To je nagrada koju dodjeljuje St. Louis Film Festival, koji su prijašnjih godina dobijali i Terry Zweighoff i Jason Reitman i slično, i čast je biti u tom društvu. Tako da se povodom te nagrade prikazuje film Ta divna splitska noć, koji inače je prikazan na ovom festivalu 2005. godine, a za nekoliko dana u okviru St. Louis Film Festivala bit će prikazan i film Halimin put, mislim 2 puta, tako da će publika ovdje u St. Louisu, pogotovo publika iz Bosne i Hercegovine, imati priliku da ga vidi. Inače, ovaj film je hrvatski predstavnik za nagradu Oscar, tako da sam ja baš danas doletio iz Los Angelesa, jer sam jučer imao projekciju za Oscare tog filma u Los Angelesu. To je dio naše kampanje za predstavljanje filma članima Akademije u Los Angelesu. Pa eto, treba držati palčeve i vidjet ćemo kako će proći ovdje. Ja se nadam i vjerujem da će film kod publike naići na dobar prijem, iako je teška tema, svi to već znate, ali nekim čudom se događa da film dobija nagradu upravo publike. Čini mi se da dirne publiku i publika osjeti nekakvu autentičnost i emotivnost u tome, pa zato i vole pogledati filma koliko on bio težak, ima koliko suza on izazove.
Jeste, upravo ste, i u ovom gradu postoji, mislim, procjena je negdje oko 70.000 Bosanaca i ljudi sa prostora bivše Jugoslavije. Tako da je tematika, iako je teška, odnosi se na nas sve I kao što sam vam rekla, ja sam pogledala dio Halimin put, divan film, ja se nadam da će i ostatak publike pogledati, a mi vama želimo puno sreće i uspjeha i mi ćemo još razgovarati sa ostalim predstavnicima iz ostalih republika koji su također na ovom filmskom festivalu. Gospodine Ostojić, hvala vam puno i puno sreće i uspjeha na ovom festivalu.
Puno hvala i vama.
With us is Rita M.Csapo Sweet, and as I just told our viewers, you are responsible for all this. You're the big mama. This is your baby. So can you tell us a little bit more about your part in all this? What is your job here, and what do you expect from your little project, your little baby?
Okay. This is the tail end of maybe 7 years of work with film, with both film and also with education with Bosnia, Bosnia-Herzegovina. I've been working for most of my career on that's my expertise, international studies, and mostly the culture, art and culture from Eastern Europe and now South Central Europe and the Balkans. My background is in Hungarian, and I went to university in Budapest when I was college age, and it changed my life completely because I finally was in a place where I understood, well, that's the strange language, and that's why my family doesn't look like everyone else. So I'm a very, very big believer that college time is the time to go abroad, find your roots, and let that change your life. So I've been doing that for many years. But when the war broke out in Bosnia in the early 90s, I, like many Americans, were just very, very disturbed and really unable to know exactly what to do. I wrote some articles about the siege, and especially about some of the people doing work there. That, like the newspaper, I was writing an article about Mehmet Halilovic and his work with Lozobojanja. And so I was always interested in it. And then about in 2006, Almir Shahinovic, who's going to be coming to show the film on Thursday, we met at the St. Louis Film Festival. And we sat down, and he's very easy to talk to, and we immediately began to talk about, what about a collaboration? We have over 70,000 Bosnians here, and I don't want them to lose their country the way I could have lost it had I not gone back at a very critical time. So he immediately said, oh, you need to work with my partner. And his partner is Dr. Leila Panetta, who was at that time working in the government. So my husband and I went there, I think it was January of 2007, and immediately we began to work. And within the 2 or 3 months, we got the exchange program signed by the universities, and the process began.
Since you mentioned the exchange program, you talked about earlier that AMSEL is doing something with the University of Sarajevo. Yes. How far has that gone?
Well, we signed in 2007 agreements with University of Sarajevo, University of Tuzla, and University of Dubrovnik. And that has meant that I've been going back almost every year, once or twice. And it takes a long time to get this moving. Between raising money for the students to come, getting airline tickets, making sure that visas are okay, especially since Bologna has come in the middle of this. There are difficulties now for students from Bosnia to go into an American program. Hari, who's going to be with us this semester, came before that was implemented, so he has less trouble, and he's going to take courses here, and then they'll be accepted in Sarajevo when he goes back.
Great. What are some of the difficulties you're talking about?
Logistics, finding people who really care enough to do the work. It takes a lot of work, and a lot of people do it without being paid. And it, as I said, we started 2007. It's now 2000 and almost 14, and we have our first student. So it's a long process, but there's so much that can now come out of this. We have an incredible theater. I don't know if you've seen Hill Performing Arts Center, but it's an absolutely state-of-the-art, modern facility. So when the students will come here, and the faculty hopefully will also come, they can work in this space. They can learn the technology. They can work with very, very high-end equipment and so on. And when our students go there, they learn how to live under circumstances that are a lot harder. It'll make them a lot stronger. And besides, there's so many incredible Bosnian directors that they get to work with them. My student who was there in 2010 was a student of Aida Begic. So, that's a big deal.
Great. Since, from what I was able to understand, this festival and all the work that you do is kind of like for people from those areas to preserve their country, preserve their culture, cultural exchange. Is there anything else that you would like to get out of this project other than that? What are your hopes for this?
Yeah, it's a long-term vision, but some of the deeper issues are that we have a lot of people who grow up almost in a war zone in the United States, in East St. Louis. There are very rough places where kids have to worry about getting shot on the way to school, okay? And that is not that much different than being in Sarajevo under the siege and having to worry about, crossing the street and being hit by a sniper. And I want to try and find those common experiences where a black kid from East St. Louis can find common ground with a young person who grew up during the war in Sarajevo and make a chemistry that wouldn't otherwise happen. That's one thing. And then the other thing is basically that culturally, there's a lot that we can learn from Bosnia and Croatia and other areas, but a lot from Bosnia about how you can make art under the worst possible circumstances, and it still is incredible. And I guess finally, this particular group, the idea of bringing in Boris Mitic from Serbia and Arsen from Croatia, I want St. Louis to be a kind of neutral territory where people can come and discuss issues that you can't discuss in Eastern Europe or in the Balkans because it's too volatile, it's too difficult. And I would like to see St. Louis and the university environment here become a place where those issues can be discussed and where creative people can work together on projects without having to worry about, where they're from, who hears them say what. You know what I mean?
I understand that's an excellent project, and I wish you, in the name of all of us here, lots of success, good luck, and I hope that you continue with this every year.
I hope so too.
And I thank you so much for talking to us.
Much. Thank you.
What we did to help Hari Secic and the other people, other students, when they becoming hopefully from Sarajevo to study here in the United States is that if you go to Facebook and try to find MIMTV-Intervju, request for friendship, and we're gonna do it for sure. And then there's the page called GoFundMe. We're trying to raise $10,000 for Hari Secic and other students coming in the country studying. And please, if you can help, you can see right now on the bottom of the screen, by page, donate, help the kids, because we all know how situation in Bosnia is, and there's not lots of money for the culture and the colleges, and this is the future of the Bosnia and the United States and any other country around the world who cares about the future generation. So please go on a Facebook, type in MIMTV-Intervju, and on the top of the page, when you open up the page, we're going to give you the friendship for sure. And you can go and GoFundMe, and there's going to be a shortcut there. Please donate, please help, because we're trying to raise the money for the future generations. And $10,000, what we trying to reach, should be perfect start, for Hari and for the other students coming over here to be helped, and just be without worrying, studying doing actually what they are supposed to do, to come over here and study. So that money should help them, to just study without problems. Hari, what about my question to you guys is really important. Is this AMSL project, Professor, what you're doing? Is this for only students in a film, or it
That's
can
a
be
great question. No. First of all, it's all of these agreements are university-wide. So, well, for instance, Ivana Alexic,
we'll talk with Ivana
okay,
later.
and you'll be talking with her.
Yes.
She was a political science major, and she wasn't actually one of my students. She heard about it, got interested, got involved. So it can be any student from anywhere. We're hoping that this can grow into a large enough project that it will also involve junior faculty, cultural projects. One of the things that I'm very interested in bringing out, and we've had discussions with the Art Academy of Fine Art, are those wonderful woodblock prints made by students and faculty during the war.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
sure you've seen them. They're extraordinary, and so I would like on a regular basis for us to have the students coming, have at least one cross-cultural project. The last time we were in Sarajevo, a delegation from University of Missouri went. Chancellor Tom George, he's a brilliant physicist, but he's also a jazz pianist.
Wow.
His wife, who is a professor of music, she is a composer, and she gave a concert in Sarajevo and in Dubrovnik, as did Tom George. In fact, in Sarajevo, he was jamming with the band Still Crazy, which is the faculty. They're all made up of faculty from the University of Sarajevo. It was a wonderful evening.
Wow.
And so we would like to see faculty or artists come from there and exhibit here, have concerts here. That this would be
just a bridge between two countries.
Yes, and that has ongoing opportunities for students, graduate students, faculty, artists, etc.
Professor, so how people can find about this project? Just go on a AMSL webpage.
If you go to the AMSL webpage and you go to the they changed their name. It's now the Office for International Studies and Programs. You go to their website, and it will direct you to the Bosnian program, or you can write to me at the university, and I can give you something to post so that people can contact me directly.
We will.
So there are a number of different ways to do it. And if one of the other aspects of having a fund like this is that I would like also for it to include people not just from the Bosnian community,
absolutely,
but from businesses, for instance,
absolutely,
that want, people who they know are well educated and they're in fact, a few years ago I was contacted by the Department of Economics at UMSL, and they were asking me if I had students that I could recommend, because their experience was that the students coming from Eastern Europe and Balkans are so well educated in math, sciences, and computational skills that they want them to be their students for master's and doctoral programs. So the more this spreads, the more people understand, how diverse it is and what it can offer both here and in Sarajevo. That will just make it all the better and enhance it.
Okay. Well, I'm just guessing that would be possible that Central American kids, truly Americans, like Joshua, to study, because there is probably lots of ways how those kids can be helped, and they can go and live 6 months, in the Europe and Bosnia. And would be a great really experience, gorgeous way how young people can beat ignorance, because ignorance is a really big problem with everybody around the world. If we can just make them to interact with each other, it would be great.
Well, one thing that helps a lot is that for almost any student from here spending a semester in Bosnia, it's cheaper than if they were enrolled at UMSL. And this doesn't just have to be from, students can contact UMSL from different parts of the country and find out more about our program. So it isn't just for people who are localized here.
Wow.
But you have one of the biggest populations of Bosnians outside of Bosnia.
Yes, yes. I guess, if the people go on AMSL's webpage, they can find out if AMSL has other campuses around the country.
Yes.
And I guess...
Well, we have 4 campuses in Missouri.
Wow. Okay.
So
Didn't
we'll
know
get
that.
more information posted so people can check it out.
Good thing is you don't have to be American Bosnian or whatever. You can be anything you wanna. And if you wanna go and study and learn the languages and everything else, hey, this is a great opportunity then. All right. We're gonna go on break and we'll come back in a couple of minutes.
I šta očekuješ ti u stvari od ovog svega?
Naravno. Pa ovako, prije nekih 3 godine AMSL i Univerzitet u Sarajevu su potpisali ugovor o saradnji koji podrazumijeva dakle, da jedan student godišnje iz Bosne može doći u St. Louis, a jedan iz St. Louisa u Sarajevo. Tako je već jedan kolega sa ovog univerziteta ovdje dolazio kod nas na Akademiju scenske umjetnosti gdje je proveo jedan semestar i ja sam se prijavio i izabran sam ove godine dakle, da provedem ovaj spring semester, dakle od januara do maja na AMSL univerzitetu.
Znači ti si ovdje do maja. Šta očekuješ ti u stvari od ovog? Šta misliš ti da će biti bolje što provodiš taj semestar ovdje nego da si ga proveo u Sarajevu?
Pa prije svega to je jedno novo životno iskustvo, doći po prvi put na drugi kraj svijeta u Sjedinjene Američke Države gdje je sve nekako novo. Evo, za ova 2 dana koliko sam tu, već sam pun impresija raznih. Prije svega nadam se da ću imati priliku da učim nove stvari. Dakle, vjerovatno ću pohađati odsjek za pozorište i ples u okviru kojeg imaju razne studije, između ostalog videoprodukcija, što je nekako najbliže onome što ja u Sarajevu studiram. I naravno, očekujem da upoznam nove ljude, prije svega nova poznanstva, nova iskustva i nadam se da ću i engleski jezik mnogo bolje znati nakon tog semestra.
Super, samo ako želiš da savladaš engleski malo bolje moraš da ostaneš van južnog dijela grada. Ja ne znam, jesi već imao priliku da saznaš za našu malu Bosnu?
Čuo sam o tome, još uvijek nisam imao priliku da posjetim taj južni dio, ali čuo sam naravno da tu živi nekih 70.000 Bosanaca i kažu da tamo se gotovo engleski ne priča, jel?
Ćevapi, bureci i ostalo.
U svakom slučaju jedva čekam da vidim i čak imam namjeru dakle, da istražim tu dakle, bosansku zajednicu u St. Louisu. Cilj mi je da napravim jedan dokumentarni film o tome.
Super ideja. Hari, hvala ti puno. Ja ti želim puno uspjeha i da ti ovaj semestar prođe u najboljem redu.
Znači, dokumentarac koji sam je radio još 2009. godine, zove se Doviđenja kako ste. To je jedan satiričan prikaz naše stvarnosti i u stvari prikazuje sve prednosti jednog satiričnog pogleda na svet. Znači, pretpostavka je da mi ne možemo da promenimo stvari, ali možemo da promenimo način na koji gledamo te stvari. I to ovi junaci u mom filmu rade kroz jedne sjajne jezičke konstrukcije. Znači, prave te kratke aforizme satirične gde celokupnu situaciju u glavi svoje promene. Sad, ja sam 4 godine smišljao načine kako da taj književni humor, to isto kao kad bi trebalo da se ilustruje, ne znam, bosanski humor ili jevrejski humor ili neku vrstu književnosti. Znači, nije ni malo lako to napraviti filmskim jezikom. Ja sam, meni 4 godine trebalo, našao sam jedno rešenje i to je sjajno, to je toliko funkcioniše, to je toliko jedna zajednička potreba, znači da ljudi sagledaju svoje probleme kroz jedan kvalitetan humor, onako svestan, promišljen, znači svesni su da ne mogu da promene stvari, ali opet neće ni da prećute, nego smisle jedan način kako da to reinterpretiraju, da im opet bude lakše. I to je svuda na svetu sjajno prolazilo, a mislim da se dobro nadograđuje na tu gomilu filmova koji se rade na tu temu, jer u stvari, znači, s jedne strane uvažava da je situacija vrlo kompleksna, uvažava da nećemo skoro da nađemo rešenje, i uvažava da postoji mogućnost svakog od nas da se uzdignemo iznad toga jednim sredstvom koji svi mi imamo, a to je jezik, izražavanje i jedan način razmišljanja do koga uvek možemo da dođemo onako samo ako se malo potrudimo.
Jel možete vi nama reći, recimo sad neće svi moći biti prisutni, film će se prikazivati ovdje na festivalu, za ljude koji su zainteresovani da pogledaju vaš film, gdje bi ga mogli pronaći, pogledati?
Pa ja, mislim, sticam okolnosti, moji filmovi se masovno piraterišu. Još od Priti Dijane, pa mislim, tako je, mislim, ja nemam ništa protiv, znaš, mislim, ko ćeš veće komplimente da ljudi, dele filmove, i to pre interneta, to krenulo sa DVX-evima još 20-30 godina kada je to bilo. I ja ne mogu da, mislim, bilo bi...
Znači da tražimo pirat kopiju na YouTube ili gdje?
Pa da. Ja sam čak napravio jedno, pošto sam znao da to tako već ide, ja sam napravio sopstveno jedno DŠD izdanje. DŠD nije DVD, to je skraćenica za Daj šta daš izdanje. Gde kaže, znači, na početku filma kaže, znači, evo, ovo je zvanično DŠD izdanje filma, čak sam napravio mali DŠD logo koji stoji u ćošku i kaže, znači, Daj šta daš, ako vam se film dopadne, i ako sretnete autora jednog dana, slobodni ste, ako hoćete, da mu udelite nešto čega imate viška u životu. Znači, sad to je retoričko pitanje, čega imaš viška u životu, ako sretneš autora, možda, ako ne moraš, ako nećeš, možda se praviš lud, neće to znati. Znači, pozivamo se ovako na kodeks, etički kodeks gledalca koji hoće da se oduži autoru kad ga sretne jednog dana. I tako.
To vam je objašnjenje i za DŠD.
Pa da, mislim, u principu ja filmove prodajem stranim televizijama i to je to, mislim, živim od...
A znači za naše možemo potražiti na YouTube-u?
Da, na YouTube-u, na torrentima, da, nađe se.
Super. Borise, hvala ti puno. Ja ti želim puno sreće i uspjeha i na ovom festivalu i u buduće i hvala ti puno još jednom na gostovanju u našoj emisiji.
Svako dobro.
Okay, my next guest is one of the first Bosnian students who went in Sarajevo and studied there for 6 months. She's going to introduce herself, but anyway, Ivana is now working. She's going to tell us all the details. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, my name's Ivana Aleksic. I came to St. Louis when I was about 7 years old from a town in northern Bosnia called Teshan. And so, we immigrated here to St. Louis and I call this my home. And about the time that I was in college, I wanted to study abroad. I was looking at Europe and it all just seemed so, London, Paris, those are exciting cities. But I really thought about it. I said, well, why don't I just use this experience to go study, where I come from, to go to Bosnia. And of course, everyone thought I was crazy. So I went to UMZL for, my college degree, and I spoke, to the study abroad office, and they said, you know what, we just got a new program. This was back in 2009. We got a new program with Sarajevo and Tuzla, you could apply to go there. So I did. I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. I've never been to Sarajevo. Okay. I had only visited Bosnia once before, and I thought, well, let's just do it. My language was getting terrible. I could barely write. I could barely read. I was having a hard time communicating with my parents. When you're a kid and you're an immigrant, you have to translate all the time. But as you grow older, they kind of become more dependent on themselves. But my language skills were just subpar. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to Sarajevo. I was terrified, but so excited. I had met lots of friends who had either visited Sarajevo or lived there at some point. And they told me great things, of course, which I came to later experience. I started the application process in about August, and then of 2009. Took a couple of months for Sarajevo to approve my application. I decided to study at the College of Political Science because I was obtaining a public policy degree at UMZL. And in January of 2010, I finally went to Sarajevo.
So what is it or what you were studying there?
So with my degree, public policy, my degree was pretty flexible. So I was able to kind of pick and choose classes I needed. Okay. Like I said, my language skills were a little rusty. So I looked for professors at the college that spoke English or had studied at American universities.
Okay. Right.
And I made a deal with them. I had to go and, you know, talk to them and say, look, okay, my Bosnian's not great, but my English is fantastic. You know, can I do my homework in English and I'll write what I can in Bosnian? Deal. But the only problem was I had to take graduate level classes. They had less students and had more time to devote to me. Okay. So I was an undergraduate student and I was taking graduate level classes. So they were pretty difficult. You know, I'm taking, I'm 20 years old. I'm taking classes that graduate students are taking, but there was a few nights, you know, where you're kind of scared and crying because you're overwhelmed and you don't know, you know, the language. But the professors were great. You know, so I will say this: when I first got there, you know, I had to knock on a few doors to figure out how the system works. You know, to get a public transportation pass, to get an index, which is kind of like a book that has all your grades.
Yes, they write all the grades in the index. Yeah?
Yes, so it's kind of a nerve-wracking book. It could be good or bad.
Exactly.
So it was interesting. You know, just walking around town. I mean, I'd never been to this city. Fortunately, I was able to stay with a family friend for a couple of months until I got my own place. But it took a good month to get set up and kind of get used to how things work there. It's a bit of a culture shock, even if you do know the language. So, you know, after that, I got into the full gear of things and started going to class like the rest of the kids. I kind of, growing up as an immigrant child here from Bosnia, you kind of feel like you don't fit in. You know, you're foreign, you're a little bit different. You don't speak the language, you have a different home life, you have to translate for your parents. So I always wondered, what would I be like if I had lived in Bosnia, you know? Like what kind of person would I be? Because you might have different values in the society that you're around. And, you know, being there for 6 months, I got to do that. I got to figure out what I would be like.
Did you feel more comfortable with the language and everything else? Did that help a little bit?
It did. So it helped knowing I do the language and I 100% understand the language. Okay. But you know, I had Joshua, he was one of my colleagues from Amsel. He did not speak a word of Bosnian, but you know, people are accommodating, you know, in Europe. Most people know English.
Yes.
Even if it's very broken, you can get by.
Professor told us that Joshua actually got all the classes in English.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yes, he did. What she said, all the classes what he took, you know, he was enough lucky. The teachers actually just talked to him in English, and all the classes they got, you know.
Well, the great thing about Bosnian culture is that you can negotiate anything. So I had to negotiate, you know, with these professors and how I could do my homework, and I asked the other students if they were okay with it. I didn't want them to think I was getting special treatment. Yes. But they all understood, and you know, I tried my best, and I think that's, you know, that's the most important thing to try.
So now, when you turn back and you think about what happened, and do you think you were scared when you went there because not knowing everything was going on, or that part? Tell me about that part.
So it was January, lots of snow as my dad had advised, lots and lots of snow. Let me just tell you about my first day.
Yes.
That's probably the most exciting day. So I get there, I'm staying with a good friend, Aida. She's my, you know, a family friend. And she tells me, okay, the tram is right there behind my house. Just get on it and you'll get off at this station. Okay. So I do that. You know, I look outside and the part of town where she lived, there's still bullet holes all over the buildings. Yeah. And I just thought to myself, what did I get myself into? Like, you know, it's my first day, but you know, I thought, I'm going to do it. I'm going to stay the whole 6 months. I don't care how hard it gets. I'm going to stay. You know, because this was a whole learning experience for me.
And this is 2000?
2010.
2010, okay.
So there's still bullet holes in buildings. So as you're getting closer to the city, of course, you see beautiful skyscrapers and, you know, just people walking and living life. Something you don't necessarily see in St. Louis. In certain parts of town you do, but I get to the school to talk to, you know, one of the human resources or, you know, administrative departments, and I lost my phone first day in the cab. So the secretary's helping me call the cab driver. He swears he doesn't have my phone. I'm thinking he took it. You know, I'm nervous. I'm skeptical about this city. And so these two girls, they saw I was all flustered, and they came up and helped me, and we went outside, and we found my phone under a foot of snow.
Oh,
it
boy.
had snowed so much while I was inside, right by the Milecka, the main river that goes through Sarajevo. So it was frustrating. There was some tears that first day, but then I made myself walk around the beautiful city and just. This is what you do the whole time in Sarajevo. You just look at the beautiful buildings, and you stop and
People
you just
walk and I
Oh,
walk and I walk and
and
everybody
sit
walks.
and there's nobody carrying a to-go coffee. It's beautiful. People sit down and have coffee.
So you think they have more time than what we get here? And they are more relaxed, or?
I think so. I think they smell the roses a little more. People, a lot of people are still unemployed. A lot of people, don't have jobs, and that's actually one of the reasons I decided to study public policy. I wanted to figure out, what caused this horrible war that we were a part of, why all of our lives were uprooted, and what you can do to make better policies in the future, honestly. So I actually got to, with more door knocking, I got an internship with the Public Administration Reform Office.
Okay.
And they actually make sure that all the laws that are in effect in Bosnia are actually being implemented and that the money is actually being used for what it's supposed to be used.
Okay.
So it was good to see something like that, an organization that's helping rebuild our country.
Okay.
But I think just people, how can you not enjoy? There's mountains, you have Austro-Hungarian style, you have Turkish style, you have...
Did you go skiing or something?
I did. Not much of a skier, but I did sled. On Jahorina, so we had a great time.
Okay, now you have been in a Bosnia, and you was in a school for 6 months, and you finish up a couple of years of the school here. So, can you compare it?
Can I compare? I think here, in the U.S., I worked 2 jobs while I went to school, and I commuted to UMSL. Anywhere you live in St. Louis, you pretty much commute to UMSL.
Yes. Sure.
And on the one hand, UMSL is great because there's people from all over the world and people of all ages, and everybody works, which is good.
Okay.
But in Bosnia, people just get to be students. That was the first time in my life I wasn't working. And, I didn't have to drive a car, which was fantastic. I got to read. I love to read. And here, you don't have time, I feel like you're just go to this, go to that. And I think because there is public transportation, you're limited at how much you can do in one day.
Yes.
Which isn't a bad thing,
Okay. Well, that's pretty honest, really. I mean, thank you very much for this. Basically, the reason why I was inviting you here today is just to hear the next future generations going there, because as far as I know, this program just was born a couple years ago, and they says it's going to be going on and on, and there's huge plans, to bring more kids from Bosnia here, and American kids, or Bosnian American kids, going in Sarajevo or Tuzla, and as far as I know, a professor says in Dubrovnik. So that's nice.
And that's wonderful. I met so many awesome kids in Sarajevo, and they were getting their master's degrees, very intelligent, and they didn't know what was next. They don't know what kind of job they're going to have, and they're all very intelligent, and that's what made me really sad. I hope that we can get some of them to come here and study here and see a different way of life, and perhaps maybe make some connections and some possible job connections, because I think that's the most frustrating thing about our country is there's so much talent, but it's wasted if there's no jobs.
Yes, absolutely.
And I really hope the kids from here who are like me, who came here as immigrants, that they want to go to see their country, to see the nature, to see. I will say this, when I first got there, the taxi drivers kept asking me, why is your Bosnian so weird? So my parents said, why don't you tell them you have a speech impairment? And I said, well, I would just tell them I was from Teshan. And they're like, really? That's how people talk in Teshan? I said, yeah, I'm from a small village. And but here, I will say this, but at the end of the 6 months, no one questioned where I was from. They thought I was just a native. And that was wonderful because, nobody was ripping me off in the cab ride. They all thought I fit right in. Okay. And I think that's all you can hope for.
Exactly. So what you doing now, Ivana? Or what is it which you found the job, I guess, right?
Yes, so I actually work, I manage properties in the city and downtown. So like condominiums and townhomes, that sort of thing, and commercial spaces.
Wow.
Yeah, so, ideally later on in life, I still want to, work for government agencies, writing laws. The thing I'm most passionate about is immigration law. I know a lot of us Bosnians, we have so many family members back home that we would like for them to come here to have the same opportunities we have.
Sure.
I have so many cousins, again, with the no jobs, and they can't come here because of the strict immigration laws.
Yes.
And, I really hope we can get some reform in this country because, look at the opportunities you and I were afforded by coming here.
Yeah.
And that's all, I think that's all I ever want. My family back home and the friends I met, they all say, you're so lucky, you can work 3 jobs if you want.
Yes, yes.
And here we take
absolutely,
that for granted. I do sometimes work 3 jobs if I have to make ends meet. But, this is one of the greatest countries in the world, but I really want Bosnia to be the same. And I want kids my age and younger to just go and see where you're from. Another great thing about going is you get to see your family on the weekends. I had one relative, she lived in Sarajevo, and then the rest of them lived in Teshan. So I was going to Teshan, every other weekend. There's a bus. And you get to, reopen those links between family. I met so many people I would have never met if I didn't go there. And so, if you're thinking about studying abroad, I think people should really think about going to Bosnia. You've got Tuzla, you've got Sarajevo. I
Dubrovnik
recommend
now,
Sarajevo because
Yeah,
I'm absolutely in love with it now. There's just something for everybody there.
You have any plans to go back?
Yes, I actually was just there in October. I was only in Sarajevo for a weekend, unfortunately, but I wish I could stay longer. Every time I go there, I wish I could go back actually. So maybe one day I will go get a degree and study in Sarajevo again.
Why not?
Yeah, because it's just one of the best cities I've ever been in.
Thank you very much, Ivana. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing
Thank you
this
for having me.
experience. This is really important. And we go back. We're back. Hari, let me hear a couple things about that project of yours, what you like to do it. What is it about? What is it actually what you want to do?
After I enroll in January, I also want to, besides studying at AMSL, or maybe as a part of a course at AMSL, I want to make a documentary about Bosnian community here in St. Louis, because so far I've already heard a lot of interesting stories, and this is really huge community. There's like 70,000 people from Bosnia living here. And that's one of my ideas to make a documentary film about this community and their experience here in the United States.
All right. Okay.
Can I just add
yes, go ahead.
that one of the things that might be possible with this is that Hari, during the times that there are breaks, could travel with Bosnians or people in the trucking business or however you can move around this country to see as much as you can possibly see, and to show that from his point of view. Sometimes the best films are made by people who come from other countries. Miloš Forman had a wonderful, he was already very established in Europe, but he came to the United States, and his first film was a film called Taking Off. And it was a very, very funny film. And it was a film made by somebody who comes to this country and sees all the absurd things for the first time that we are used to. So that I'm hoping that he'll have the chance to be able to do that.
Okay, well, that's a good way of thinking. Definitely, probably what's funny to him is not funny anymore to us, and what's funny for us, not for him. When a person comes from different country, everything is new, and
it's new.
Yeah.
Everything
I guess
is new.
he look at different things differently than what we are. I'm used to it.
Definitely, yeah.
I live here a long time, professor also, but it must be lots of new things for you. Okay, let's talk about this fundraising. What we're trying to do. You are basically the first Bosnian coming to the AMSL.
Yeah. As I told you before, when you go to Sarajevo University to ask them about this project, first thing you find out there is that they only have contract that covers the school fee. So after I found out that, I applied for different grants and scholarship, including one from the Bosnian Fund for Cinematography, and you have to find a way to pay for airplane ticket and to pay for your life costs.
Everyday life, yeah.
Yeah, while you're here in
Yeah,
the
food,
Louis.
gas,
So this
tickets.
this would be great if this fundraising if it can be done like that. In that case, a student wouldn't have to do that to apply for different grants
Million
and
different things,
scholarships
Right.
from
right,
different
right.
sides.
Right.
It would be great if there would be like one fund that is for this, and also as I said before, I was lucky because I was invited for the festival, so I didn't have to look for the money for airplane ticket. And next student who is going to come here in August probably will have to pay for airplane ticket. So that would be great if you can like raise the money in this way for that one or every next student that is going to come here.
I know that people watch this all around the world, and we, like I said before, I'm going to repeat myself, but please reach us. It's really easy. Go on Facebook and type in MIMTV-Intervju. You can see it right now on the bottom of the screen. Going there, we're gonna be friends in a second, or no time at all. And there's gonna be a web page right there. Please help us to help others. Click on that, and there's gonna be a web page. What we getting money through. It's called GoFundMe. If you can, please donate $10, $15, $20, $100, as much as you can, and as much is not a problem for you house budget. And we really try to help the kids coming from Bosnia to the United States. Students are our future. If you don't help them, then something is definitely wrong, not good. So we're trying to reach a goal of $10,000. $10,000 should be a good starting point for Hari to survive here next 6 months, and for the other student in August to maybe come without worrying, for a ticket and how he's gonna pay everything else. So we'll work with the Bosnian Chamber of Commerce and Bosnian Association and everybody else who can help and who wants to help. If you have any ideas, please send us email on mimtelevizia@gmail.com, and we'll gladly talk to you.
Could I just add one thing about this?
Yes.
So that people are clear what the expenses are. There are really three categories. The airline ticket is the first expense, and that runs about $1,500, let's say.
Yes.
Then a dormitory. What was the final breakdown? Is it 600 a month?
650 a month.
Okay, 650 a month. Does that include the food?
No.
Okay, so let's say $1,000.
So
for
5,000 just for what
Right.
you says, plus food and
Right.
everything else. So about
Right.
$10,000 per
And if
semester.
you're in the dorm, you don't need a car, so that you can use public transportation. If you have an apartment someplace, it may be cheaper, but then you need a car. So
Yeah.
that's the way it works here. But the other thing is that once this is run through the university, because the university is a nonprofit 501c organization, any donations made are tax deductible. So we're talking about, let's say, $1,500 for the airlines. So we're talking about maybe $6,000-7,000 per student for an entire semester, which is actually a very good investment.
So if we reach the goal of $10,000, we should be okay to take care about Hari Plus, and we should have a ticket
Exactly,
money
that
for the
would work
next
out
student
very
coming.
well. The other thing is that when I was last in Sarajevo, I met with the Minister of Education, and since then there's been a lot of change. But one of the things that we were trying to do was to get a commitment from the Ministry of Education that this is something that is important enough for the future of the country, so that they may pay for the airline expenses for the students going from Sarajevo or Tuzla to the United States. It's not such a big deal for the students coming to Sarajevo from here, but it's a huge impediment for students coming to St. Louis. So if let's say 10,000 a semester or 20,000 a year would really make the whole process work very smoothly, and even if it's less, at least one part of it is taken care of. So if the airline ticket is paid for, then maybe families can host the student in their home and so on. There are many ways to get around that, but those are the three components.
You heard, Professor. So please, if you can help, you can contact us on MIMTV-Intervju@gmail.com with all suggestions or any type of the help would be helpful. Really, we appreciate it very much. So either you can help with the money or with anything else, that's going to really really help to settle this situation, because what we're trying to do here is just to help Hari and other students coming over here from Bosnia. And this is really great opportunity for the kids to study here and remember this for the rest of their life. So please go on Facebook, type in MIMTV-Intervju. The first thing which you're going to find is going to be help us to help others, and donate, and we will make sure you're going to know what's going on in the next shows or something else over the program. We're going to make sure that you know where the money goes. But all the money from that funds should go against schooling our kids, going from Bosnia to the United States, and making sure they're going to be able to pay their dormitory food and everything else what they need. So 10,000 every 6 months. What we're gonna this fundraising is gonna go for the 6 months, until we got the money, and we hope we can help somebody. Like the professor says, make sure if you're interested to go into Bosnia, contact somebody, us here on MIMTV-@gmail.com, and we can put you together with Professor. Or Professor, we're gonna put up everything, all the information on the screen so we can see it, what's going on. But you can go on a web page, AMSL University.
Yes, so University of Missouri St. Louis, UMSL is the abbreviation.
Exactly. Then there's a bunch of different ways how you can make sure, if you want to go, and like Professor says, it's cheaper to go in Bosnia and study for a semester than go to the school here. So also you're going to learn the language and everything else, especially if you're a Bosnian from the United States or somewhere around, then it would be a great idea to spend 6 months, in the country where your parents came from. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Professor Rita M.Csapo, Hari Secic, we thank you very much for being with us. See you till next time.